Hey there, welcome back, one and all, to VGMporium, where you can find most everything for your VGM needs. And today's quite a special day here, and why is that? Because it's episode number 20. Yep, 20 episodes. That's been one a week ever since the mid-January, so that's like 20 weeks of just doing this straight, which is kind of mind-boggling for me. Kind of wish I could be this consistent with my music making. Well, how I've decided to celebrate doing this 20th episode is to start taking song requests. Or as I'm calling them, special orders, as in the title. And I decided to do this one a little extra by, instead of waiting for song requests to come in, I actually approached 4 different peoples to send me song requests to, get this going. And who are these 4? Well, they are all people that have just started VGM podcasts like myself this year. And I'll be introducing each of them as I play the requests. So now as to the song that we came in on, this is basically my special request, but you may be asking, Rage Cage, how can you make a song request on your own show when basically the entirety of VGMporium is your own giant big ass song request? And you got me there. But as I said, I am also one of those that started my show this year. So hey, good enough reason? Yeah. So, the song that we came in on is Take a Dog Out a Walk from Lumines, the original PSP version, composed by Takayuki Nakamura. And this was one of the first games I got for my PSP, alongside Wipeout Pure. This would be back in summer of 2005, so shortly after the launch of this mighty handheld. This game and the console both hold a special place in my heart because it is the first time I've actually bought a console with my own money, basically at launch, like, brand spanking new, without it being like a birthday or Christmas gift. With my own hard-earned money I made working at Denny's as a dishwasher. And now Lumines. Every handheld has to have a puzzle game at launch. But this was unlike any puzzle game I had ever played before. Whereas, the music was reactive to every action you did. So, every spin of the block, a new little, jingle would come up. Every time you drop the block, a new sound. Every time you'd clear out a bunch of the squares, there'd be, even more cacophony, and it would add, swell up the music and stuff. And it was like, what the hell? Suffice to say, I was definitely hooked. So how this game works, it's basically a match-em-up puzzler, whereas you get a block that is made up of 4 different little blocks that are of, could be 2 different colors, different, variations and all. And then you drop them down, you can rotate them, and, once you can get more than 4 together, that'll be a chain right there. But for each little block that's touching it that is of the same color, that'll become of that chain. And then there's a line that goes through the screen that goes along with the BPM of the song, and when that line goes through, all the blocks that are touching will start glowing, and then when that line's finished going through, they'll all disappear, and thus possibly creating more chains of the opposite color. So yeah, it's pretty addicting. So now, Takayuki Nakamura. He got to start with Sega doing the soundtrack for eSWAT on the Sega Genesis Mega Drive. And he would go on to doing some game ports on the Sega Master System for Asterix, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, and Streets of Rage, and he wrote the music for all of those in assembly. He would go on to work on some arcade titles like Columns 2, Stadium Cross, F1 Exhaust Note, and Virtua Fighter Kids. He then left Sega in '96 and joined Dream Factory, and he worked on the soundtrack for Air Guys, God Bless the Ring. And then went independent shortly after that, and he would go on to work on Star Ocean Blue Sphere on the Game Boy Color, King of Fighters EX Neo Blood on the Game Boy Advance, Custom Robo on the GameCube, Lumines, this right here, God Hand on PS2, and then Super Street Fighter 4 on the PS3. Now a little bit more on Lumines, it was actually created by Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who had done Space Channel 5 and Rez previously, which both these games had music that was reactionary to the gameplay. In an interview I found by The Verge, he stated that he created this game to be just like an interactive music album, because the main solo game has kind of almost like a story-like progression as far as kind of how the mood of the music kind of changes. And a lot of the music was composed by Nakamura, but there was also a couple of licensed tracks in there as well. So yeah, this interview was in response to the 2018 release of Lumines Remastered on the Switch, which from what I'm reading on here is saying that there's been some enhancements as far as haptic stuff going on, so it actually enhances the game in a way, which kind of makes me want to play it, but alas, I have no Switch. But no time to pity, it's time to move on to our actual first special order. This first order is for Martyris of ReVGM, and appropriately it is a cover. This is Honey Hive Galaxy VRC6 Remix by Jake Jr. which is a remix of Honey Hive Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. Originally composed by Koji Kondo, Mahito Yokota, and Ryo Nagamatsu. That was Honey Hive Galaxy VRC6 Remix by Jake Jr., a remix of Honey Hive Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy. Special order by Martyris of ReVGM. And again, this order is very appropriate because Martyris' podcast, ReVGM, is focused on remixes, covers, and arrangements of video game music. And he made a note saying that he had found this looking for remixes for the Honey Hive Galaxy theme for his episode last week, which was on National Bee Day. So now Martyris is kind of my podcast brother because we both had listened to Rhythm and Pixels, and then in a couple other episodes they said a few motivational things about doing something that you really wanted to do, kind of pertaining to podcasts possibly. That was the thing to just basically spark us into doing our own podcasts. For me personally, I was thinking of doing it for a while, but then the 1-2 punch of Rob's bonus beats, the Mahjong thing, and then one of Purnell's motivational speeches at the end of one of their episodes just finally pushed me into going forward with it. So now let me tell you a bit about this remixer, Jake Jr. He seems to have gotten started about a year ago, doing a lot of covers of Undertale and then Deltarune using FamiTracker, and he's been uploading his music to both SoundCloud and YouTube, which I'll linking both in the show notes. And from what I've listened to this one, comparing it to the original, he did a pretty dang good job, And then of course having that extra 3 channels of the VRC6, the 2 square and the sawtooth, kind of gave him a little bit more to work with. Man, so much Famicom lately. But yeah, no, this is good stuff. So now as for this game, I have no experience with it, for alas, I did not own a Wii. The last Nintendo console I owned was the Game Boy Advance. Yeah, the only real experience I have with the Wii is, playing it at friends a couple times, but mostly by other means. Mostly playing Muramasa and Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I sure don't tell nobody that little secret. Now how's about a quick rundown on these composers, 3. Let's start with Mahito Yokota. Gotta start doing Sengokushi Sosoden, Dynasty Warriors 4, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, the first Super Mario Galaxy, as well as some Wii music, Super Mario 3D World, sound management on Super Mario Odyssey, and finally, sound supervision on Mario Golf Super Rush. Up next, we got Ryo Nakamatsu. Got to start doing Wii Play, Mario Kart Wii, The Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds, The Legend of Zelda: Triforce Heroes as the sound lead, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Did arrangements for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, as well as for The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, the Switch remake. And then last but certainly not least, Koji Kondo. I mean, do I really have to tell you what the man's done? I mean, he's done such classics as Golf, Kung Fu, and those 2 absolute classics, Famicom Tale, New Onigashima, prequel, and sequel on the Famicom Disk System. But in all seriousness, we all know he does like Super Mario Bros., Donkey Kong, Legend of Zelda, and the many titles within the respective series. So yeah, thank you Martyrs for putting your special order, and I'm pretty sure I'll be seeing more from you in the future. Now moving on to our next SPO. That's special order in retail terms. This is in from Professor Tom of the Shujin Academy VGM Club. It's School Days from Persona, the PSP port, composed by Shoji Meguro and sung by Yumi Kawamura. That was School Days from Persona, the PSP remake, composed by Shoji Meguro and sung by Yumi Kawamura. And this was special ordered by Professor Tom of the Shujin VGM Academy. And as seeing as I haven't really listened to much of this music, I went ahead and did a little research, and what I found out is the soundtracks are kind of like evolving per game, so it's like not like a set genre, or I guess like they make genres, but it's not like a set style and sound per game. It's like one is still kind of trying to find itself, 2 starts figuring it out, 3 takes what 2 did right and kicks it up a notch, 4 really hits that sweet spot, actually become kind of like a character all on its own, and I think word I saw for it was effervescent. And then 5's music is just basically all these things from the previous games all grown up and a little more hard hitting and a lot of bass. So all this to say that I just really need to sit myself down and listen to this music, because apparently I'm missing out. And now on the subject of all this music, let's tell you about Shoji Meguro and what he has done. Being an in-house composer for Atlus since 1996, he got to start doing the original PS1 version, Revelations Persona, as well as all the other Persona games excepting 2 in '99, though he has done the music for the little spin-offs of 2, I guess. Would go to work on Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Sagas 1 and 2, Trauma Center Under the Knife, Catherine, Devil Summoner 2, Record Breaker, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux, and most everything in between that and after that is just like Persona. Though it seems he's currently working on a to-be-announced game called Guns Undarkness. And so Yumi Kawamura, she has been a vocalist for a few of the Persona games, mainly 3, 4, and the Q and Q2. And she did provide backup vocals for Digital Devil Saga Avatar Tuner 2 in 2005. And there you go, the special order from Professor Tom of Shujin Academy VGM Club. And he actually noted that he got the name for his show from the school that is in Persona 5, Shujin Academy. Now let's see here, what's the next order that I got on the shelf here? Ooh, diggity dang, this is more my speed. It's Jurassic Dope from Contra Hardcore, composed by one of these fine folks, Hiroshi Kobayashi, Michiru Yamane, Akihata, Akira Yamaoka, and Hirofumi Taniguchi. This is special order by Jameson of Bar Silence, a VGM podcast. Jurassic got kicked by Jurassic Dope from Contra Hardcore, ordered in by Jameson of Bar Silence, a VGM podcast. And when he sent his order form, he put 3 options on there. 1 from X-Men, the arcade game, and then 2 from Contra Hardcore. And he said, one of these 3, order them in. And seeing as I had already submitted an X-Men arcade game track to the VGM Fight Club, I went with Contra, and I just couldn't resist the name Jurassic Dope. And he put a special note on there. It says, this song is hardly what I would consider Contra music, but the funky bass lead, claps and drum beat makes for an unapologetic 90s sounding banger that is most certainly dope. And I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and the soundtrack for this game is definitely a switch from like the previous Contra games, which had much more of kind of like a harder rock sound to it. This stuff is more like a hardcore electronic music techno kind of sound going on, with a little bit of that scungy New Jack swing kind of stuck in there. All mixed together with that Konami sound that has been evolving through like the arcade beat 'em ups like The Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Bucky O'Hare, as well as a lot of familiar patches from Rocket Knight Adventures kind of being used throughout the tracks on this, as well as some of the stylings. And that's because a lot of the sound team that had worked on this game had worked on Rocket Knight Adventure the year previous. So who are these composers? Well, since there's so many of them, I'm just going to kind of keep their list really short here. So first one is Hiroshi Kobayashi, worked on Contra 3 The Alien Wars, Rocket Knight Adventures, Lethal Enforcers, Akumajo Dracula on the X68K, and then Ganbare Goemon, Uchu Kazoku, Okingingu. Michiru Yamane, she got started doing Nemesis 3 on the MSX, did SD Snatcher, Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, Castlevania Bloodlines. Jumping ahead, she worked on Suikoden 4, Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, Skullgirls on the PC, and then last credit I found is Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Akihata, I believe I've already told you about in a previous episode, but just to kind of give you a quick rundown, she worked on Lagrange Point, Bishoujo Senshi, Sailor Moon, Dynamite Heady, would go on to Bangayo, and a few Idolmaster games within the last 2012. She's also a pop musician. Akira Yamaoka got started with Smart Ball, went on to do Sparkster, Rocket Knight Adventures 2, sound programming on Snatcher. He would be the main composer for the Silent Hill series, went on to work Gradius 3 and 4. Rumble Roses, eventually left Konami to become a music director for Grasshopper Manufacturer, and would go on to work on Killer is Dead, Let It Die, The 25th Ward, The Silver Case, and coming up, Deathverse, Let It Die. And then finally, Hirofumi Taniguchi. Did Contra 3 The Alien Wars, this game, Suikoden, Chibi Robo Plug into Adventure, We Play Motion, Chibi Robo Photo Finder, and Chibi Robo Ziplash. So many things. My mouth is very dry now. But haha! With the magic of just recording in clips, between then and now I have drinking many cups of water. So now before we move on, a bit about this game, unlike previous Contras where they've been just kind of standard run and guns, this one's a frantic ADHD fueled run and gun, which actually kind of makes sense because the folks that worked on this game went on to go found Treasure, which then would make Gunstar Heroes, which was just a crazy running, just all over the place, just shooting things all over the place, and then eventually Alien Soldier, which is just basically one long boss rush of just switching between two different modes and a lot of shooting and switching weapons and stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you really think about it. I mean, they're the only ones crazy enough to make one of the characters, a playable character, like a Wolfman with 2 robotic arms, one of them being just like a minigun. So yeah, that's Contra Hardcore. So thank you once again, Jamison of Bar Silence, for ordering that one in. So now our last order is coming in from Eric, host of Super Sound Boy, and it is 0442, still free, from the game Haven, composed by Danger. You just heard 0442, Still Free, from Haven, composed by Danger. Special ordered in by Eric of Super Sound Boy. And unlike the rest of the orders, I had never heard of this game at all. And that's unfortunately due to my not actively playing games right now and, not really keeping up with a lot of the newer games that come out, except for like major titles or ones that kind of, catch the attention of a lot of people on social media. So I looked this game up and it sounds pretty interesting. It's a third-person role-playing game with some survival elements. And you play simultaneously as two characters, you and Kay, who had just recently escaped from a place called the Apiary, which is a society that forces couples into marriage. And so they escaped to an uninhabited lost planet called the Source, where they have to, craft things, do a lot of hunting, cooking to kind of survive, and then eventually you do meet like with hostile creatures where you then play kind of like in a third person, so you're seeing them from behind, and you do actions and you have to kind of coordinate them to effectively defeat these creatures. But the interesting feature of this game is that at the beginning you get to choose, what sex either K or you can be. So K can be a male or female, same with you, or you could have them both the same sex. And so one of the main focuses of this game is the relationship between these two characters and that building relationship. The director has stated that this is kind of like Journey meets Persona, so it's kind of like, where Journey is like just this big open world is just beautiful and you can explore and just do it, just see things, experience it. Persona's about kind of like, the relationship between the characters and the bonds they form. Now, as for the music, I could kind of say that it's not really my taste. That doesn't mean I can't tell that it's pretty well put together and arranged, and the instrumentations and some of the synth sounds that he's using and stuff it has a nice pulse to it. And for some reason I kind of got a flash of Ryuichi Sakamoto's theme for Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. If you've never listened to that, go check it out. It's really beautiful. More specifically, a remix I heard of it called Heart of Asia. And so now the composer of this music, Danger, real name Franck Revoix, has been actively producing and releasing music since 2007, focusing on many electronic music genres such as trip-hop, electro house, witch house, French house, and synthwave. And he's released many EPs and then some actual albums in 2017, Taiko, 2019, Origins, and then this being his latest work, Haven, in 2020. And checking some things out about this guy, looks like he's always wearing some kind of dark clothing, usually a hoodie, with a whole lycra suit on with lights where his eyes should be, and they just glow this bright white. It actually reminds me of Spider-Man Noir from Into the Spider-Verse. Thank you, Erica, once more for this special order. I know I said this music isn't really to my taste, but hey, that can change the more I check this guy's stuff out. So yeah, thank you. And I realize I probably should have been doing this for the others while I was announcing them, but we're here now. So you can find Super Soundboy at supersoundboy.com or on all the different podcatchers like Spotify, Apple, Google, as well as on Twitter as at Super Soundboy. But he did note that he is currently taking a hiatus, but he does have a 14-episode backlog, so, go check it out. And then for the other podcasts, we got ReVGM. You can find it at revgm.com. All those podcatchers is on Instagram as re_VGM. And then Bar Silence, you can find him on Twitter at Bar Silence, as well as on those podcatchers. And then Shujin Academy VGM Club, you can find on Twitter, as well as those podcatchers. Once more. And I will be putting links for all their respective shows in the show notes, so you can go, check those out straight away, because this is my first time announcing multiple other podcasts on my show, so I'm kind of making a mess of it right now. So yeah, with this, I am officially announcing I am taking special orders. You can send them to VGMporium at gmail.com or, to at VGMporium on Twitter, Instagram, however you want to do it. You send it in, I'll try to get them, and then I'll play them on a dedicated episode. A big part of why I started doing this podcast was to kind of get more involved with the VGM community at large, and so kind of initiating this by getting special orders from the other podcasters that started around the same time as I did. I'm kind of hoping to kind of really get to know these guys a little bit more. And speaking of community building of the VGM podcasting community, we're all going to be doing, at least I know of at least 20, maybe 30 other VGM podcasts are going to be doing something called the Masters of VGM, where we're all going to be choosing individually 4 composers that we feel are masters of their craft, more or less. So this is going to be taking place all throughout the month of June. So I'm pretty excited for that, and you should be too. So I've been your host, Rage Cage, RAYJ, KAYJ. You can find me on all the different social medias at RageCage. And then VGMporium you can find on all the different podcatchers, as well as, on all the different social medias as at VGMporium. And I definitely encourage you to go check out these other podcasters, because they run some pretty dang good shows. And I said earlier, don't hesitate to send a special order via email or social media, tweet, whatever you want to do. Just send it in. I'll be kind of building them up and then just playing them in batches and just doing my best to talk about them. So yeah, thank you for listening, and hope you come back next week to hear my spiel.